Okay, so something we get asked quite a lot is how to brew with a French press, otherwise known as a cafetiere. And this is probably the most common brew method that a lot of you have at home. It's really simple, and actually to get a really good cup from it is quite a simple process. So we're going to run through some of the things you're going to need to brew with a French press. First of all, you're going to need some freshly roasted coffee. Okay, whole bean if possible, because grinding fresh is always going to result in a better cup of coffee. If you don't have a grinder at home, then you can get pre-ground coffee, but bear in mind that pre-ground coffee will go stale quicker. So you really want to be using that within a week or two maximum, whereas whole beans can last a bit longer. So some freshly roasted coffee. Second thing you're going to need is a set of scales. So most kitchens have some kind of scales for baking or something like that. These are just simple scales, kitchen scales bought off Amazon for like $8.99 or something. So getting a set of scales is going to really make a huge difference to your coffee, because it means that you can be consistent with what you're doing. French press, I'll talk more about that later. Here we've got a grinder and a kettle. One of the big components of your brew is going to be your water you put in your French press. So getting good tasting water is going to mean a better tasting cup of coffee. If you live in a soft water area, then great. You don't need to worry too much. Hard water areas, like where we live on the south coast, then you need to think about how you're going to make that soften it somehow. So we use like a Brita home water filter. You just stick water in and it filters, and you stick it in the fridge. That's the easiest method. You can use bottled water, but it's not particularly great for the environment, so filtered water. And that's pretty much it. Getting the right strength from your coffee is basically to do with how much coffee you put in your French press and how much water you put into it. And getting those two right and consistently right means that you're going to get a good tasting cup of coffee each time. As a good starting point, what we tend to use is 60 grams of coffee to 1 litre of water. And you can change that depending on how many cups you're going to do. So if you just want to make a cup of coffee for yourself for a single cup, then use 15 grams of coffee to 250 mils of water. Equally, for 2 cups, then 500 mils to 30 grams of coffee. If you use that as a starting point, then if it's too strong or too weak, then you can just simply put some more coffee in or less coffee in, and to get the right sort of strength for you. So, weigh some coffee out. So here we're going to use 30 grams. There we go. And we're going to grind this relatively coarse. I'll show you in a minute. So obviously when you put your coffee in, you just need to zero your scales. And then we're going to put some water in. Water in. I'm going to go for 500 grams of water. So 4 minutes has passed, and the coffee has just been sitting on the top here, and it's been brewing. So take a spoon, and we're going to give it a quick stir. And that's broken the crust of the coffee on the top, and now all those grounds are going to be falling down to the bottom of the cafetiere. So now we wait a bit more. So once you've stirred it, you get this sort of slurry, this sort of scummy bit on the top here, and it's little bits of ground and some foam and some bits and bobs. So we want to get rid of that before we do anything else. So you need 2 spoons, tablespoons, teaspoons, whatever. Alright, and we're just going to scoop it off to clean up the top. Okay, so we've waited a couple of minutes and basically allowed all these little grounds to slowly sink to the bottom. The longer you wait, the better that's going to be, all right? But you know, somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 minutes is about enough time. The idea behind this is that all this is going to be doing is acting as a sieve for when you pour the coffee out, not to allow any of those grinds to come back through. So because there's no crust or anything on the top, you don't need to put hardly any pressure on at all. In fact, this might even just fall to the bottom. Mmm, delicious.